Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Born Again to Live. It's your old pals, Amy and Eric, just sitting around the kitchen table. Pull up a chair and come chat with us. That's what we're all about here on this podcast, is just learning how to walk with the Lord, getting to know the Lord and to walk in integrity, which is what we talked about on Friday. But we have started a new series as of yesterday. David. That's who.
Man after God's own.
That's what we're talking about for a while, because we want to know, what was it about David that just God knew how much he loved him? And so we just want to maybe take a look and try to model our lives a little bit after David. So, yeah. So yesterday was the big anointing.
So I gotta tell the listeners. Last episode we told you we're outside, sunshine, and well, we found out a negative side of the sunshine is that it melts things, overeats some stuff, and you can't see internet stuff and computers and phones. It's kind of hard to see those in the sunshine.
Yeah.
We sadly had to move back inside for this episode.
Yeah, but we still have the door open. The fresh air is coming in. The gummy bears are cooling off. They melted into one giant pile of sludge.
We melted some gummy bears just by the sun. I guess it's just a little warm.
Just a little. All right, so that was an epic fail, but we're still on task and talking about David. So yeah, when we left off, Eric, so here Samuel was called to the house of Jesse and to pick out of his sons one of them, and God said, I'll tell you what to do, right? And all these sons kept coming by, this one, no, and to the point where Jesse had run out of sons, presumably, until Samuel had to ask, is this all you got? Was God wrong? And then they bring out David, this young kid that's been in the fields, and that was who God had chosen. So in front of his entire family, he was anointed.
Yep.
And as the next king of Israel. But as we were starting to talk about for today, the problem was there's still a king on the throne.
Yeah. Who still thinks he's king and still anointed.
Yes. And I was asking Eric, I'm like, so did Saul know that this had happened? Because, I get that. When people saw Samuel coming to the house of Jesse, of course, they're going to be like, what's he doing here? And, oh, no, I'm just come to sacrifice an animal. Everything's fine. But some servant, somebody have had to have squealed and said, you're not going to believe what I just saw, right? So I feel like I would think Saul eventually got back to King Saul that this had happened. But then what we're going to talk about today, it doesn't seem like it yet, right?
No, it seems like Saul knows that he's not the anointed and that someone else is, but he doesn't know who.
Yeah. But
so
it's pretty coincidental.
Yeah. So today we're going to read 1 Samuel 16, 14 through 23, folks, if you want to tune in and watch what we're reading.
Okay.
Just don't drive and read. I do text and drive, but reading and driving is probably bad.
You know what? I just, pot calling the kettle black, whatever. I believe the Bible calls it a hypocrite, but that's fine, Eric. That's fine. Let's just all not be distracted when we're driving.
There you go. Just listen.
Okay, here we go. We're listening to Samuel, 1 Samuel 16, starting in verse 14. Now the Spirit of the Lord had departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord tormented him. Saul's attendant said to him, see, an evil spirit from God is tormenting you. Let our Lord command his servants here to search for someone who can play the lyre. He will play when the evil spirit from God comes on you, and you will feel better. So Saul said to his attendants, find someone who plays well and bring him to me. One of the servants answered, I have seen a son of Jesse of Bethlehem who knows how to play the lyre. He is a brave man and a warrior. He speaks well and is a fine-looking man, and the Lord is with him. Then Saul sent messengers to Jesse and said, send me your son David, who is with the sheep. So Jesse took a donkey loaded with bread, a skin of wine, and a young goat, and sent him with his son David to Saul. David came to Saul and entered his service. Saul liked him very much, and David became one of his armor bearers. Then Saul sent word to Jesse, saying, allow David to remain in my service, for I am pleased with him. Whenever the Spirit of God came on Saul, David would take up his lyre and play. Then relief would come to Saul. He would feel better, and the evil spirit would leave him. Wow.
Yeah.
So my first question is it Lyre or Lyre?
I've heard it pronounced both.
Me too. All right. So it's just
So I really
basically, it's like
dollar.
it's a little harp, right?
I think.
Okay. So that's
I always tell people it might be a guitar. They didn't have that word. I don't know.
I mean, right? So anyway, he's playing an instrument, but that is not the most important question here.
So I want to go back to verse 18.
Okay.
When Saul said, "Provide me with a person who can play," and the ESV version.
Okay.
Or you had the NIV, correct?
Yeah.
So ESV version says, "One of the young men answered, Behold, I have seen Jesse, or a son of Jesse the Bethlehemite, who is skilled in playing, a man of valor, a man of war, prudent in speech, and a man of good presence, and the Lord is with him."
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good description of somebody. Like a man of valor,
Yeah.
good presence, and the Lord is with him.
Well, and you also said a man of war, and I guess it's curious to me because David was a shepherd.
Yeah, and he hadn't actually been in battle until Goliath later, right?
Yeah. Well, as far as we know,
As
right?
far as we knew.
So that is a little conflicting. Why would they call him a man of war other than maybe he just was a man of valor? And maybe he talked about wars. Maybe he was like obsessed with military history.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting that that's what they said about him.
So I just found that interesting that the ESV gave a couple more descriptive words of who he was.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dive into this.
Okay.
So, first, God takes his spirit out of Saul.
Yeah.
And the part that really bothers me in this is that he puts this calls it harmful, yours called it evil, spirit into him to torment him.
Wow. He really...
That's the only time I remember God really putting an evil spirit into someone, or even using the word evil with God.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, that troubled me when you think about that God could put an evil spirit in somebody. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I remember looking that one up in the study Bible because I'm like, I need to know a little bit more about that. Because it seems conflicting, but at the same time, I think, Saul had departed from the Lord, and the Bible does say, like, when a spirit leaves you, there is a void there.
There's a void.
And I want to say what I did read about that is it wasn't so much that God commanded it, but Saul had already made that opportunity. And the thing about God, like, God sees everything happening yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So God knew that this was going to happen, right? So I think it was more of that, other than God saying, you need to torment that guy. It happened because of his failed relationship with God. He, clearly he didn't trust him when God said to take out the Amalekites, every single inch of them, and he didn't do that. And so as soon as that trust was broken, you can't, as Eric's always saying, it's a relationship. So you can't have a solid relationship if there's no trust. And so the minute that trust was broken, God's like, I cannot use you as the king of my people anymore. And so, yeah, I think the anointing came out. I think God's spirit left him, and it left that void for an evil one to come in. So, and when it said it tormented him, what do you think, Eric? Was he just like, was he tormented by the fact that he was a failure? Was he tormented by the fact that, what do you think was going on in his head?
That's like, my vision is like the schizophrenia type stuff.
Yeah.
And multiple personalities, because later we read that, like, he would randomly throw a spirit at somebody. Like,
yeah,
I believe that's that split personality type, multiple personality type thing, or bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those mental diseases,
Yeah.
something like that kind of come over him, that he just couldn't stand. Like, he would have a good moment, and then all of a sudden it was like he'd flip a switch and he's crazy Saul.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I think. But this isn't the Saul series. This is a David series.
This is a David series. So
let's focus a little on what David does here. And the reason I brought up that verse earlier in the wording of the ESV, it says a man of valor.
Mm-hmm.
So a man of valor. Valor, in my opinion, is that it's the integrity aspect, right?
Right.
So God calls you and anoints you to be king while there's our king already in the seat, basically.
Yeah.
And David has enough respect that he doesn't just go into war to get rid of Saul. He doesn't try to take over and say, nope, I'm king. I'm going to go sit on that throne. I don't care what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Saul, the current king, is tormented by this spirit and needs someone to play this instrument to make him be calm.
Yeah.
And they call on David. And David's like, sure, let's go do that. Like, how hard is it to be the man who knows that you're supposed to be sitting on that throne and you're playing for the man on that throne?
Yeah.
All the time knowing that you should be on that throne. Like, that's vow, people.
Well, and I mean, I'm just going to go back to Jesse for a second. He saw what happened. He knows what happens. And then all of a sudden, yeah, King Saul wants your son to come to the palace and serve him. If I was David's dad, I'd be like, yeah, not going to happen. Because he probably figured, oh my gosh, he's heard about this. He's going to try to kill my son. Like, right? And I mean, fortunately, God protected, David from Saul having that knowledge at that point anyway.
So I talk about that David series on Amazon.
Yeah.
And in it depicts this really cool because, like, they call on Jesse's house and he's like, oh, the older boys are all going to war. And they're like, no, it was for David.
Yeah.
And he's like, why? And he sends the older brother, like the oldest brother with him and says, no matter what, defend your brother.
Yeah.
And so as they go, he goes with them. And it's kind of cool because that depicts like the fear that David and Jesse both had.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, his brother's like kind of jealous, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I've got to protect him. He's supposed to be king. Like, so it's this really cool back and forth. And the whole time, like, Saul doesn't know who this kid is. They just know that he's a shepherd boy that can play the instrument. And so I just look at that as integrity. Like, David is the model of integrity in that situation. And later, I've got a story, one of my favorite stories of David.
Don't jump ahead now.
In a cave.
Okay.
It's really awesome the way his integrity never changes until he does do sin later. I think, I don't know what happened there, but his integrity is always something that I really admire, I guess.
Well, and I think, unlike a lot of Bible characters that God promised them something, whether it was Saul or going all the way back to Abraham, God promised them something, and then when they didn't see the fulfillment of it right away, they kind of take matters into their own hands. They DIY it, as you like to say, Eric, and they screw up this plan that God is working out. David, because he was a man of integrity, he understood God's timing.
Yeah, and he let it play out God's way.
He really did. He really did.
We talked earlier about, off air, Amy and I, about the period of waiting sometimes that you have to wait. And I told her the Bible often talks about unleavened bread. But I believe that our waiting on God is kind of like yeast.
Mm-hmm.
We have to wait for things to rise before you can bake it. And it's the same with God. Sometimes you got to do that wait, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But again, we went back to Friday's episode where we're talking about integrity. In that waiting, you got to have the integrity.
Yes.
I mean, David, spoiler alert, he gets multiple chances to kill Saul.
Yes.
Like literally multiple chances. Or even in this situation, he's playing for the guy. He could have played music that didn't help him. He could have maybe snuck in there and just put a sword in him right there and said, I am the anointed one. I'm taking my throne. Instead, he's like, nope, let me play and keep this guy calm because we need him to be king right now. I just can't get over that integrity of like, he could have done so many things different, but he knew God's message enough that he's like, all right, I know who I am. I know who Saul is and I know who God is. So let's God work and see what happens.
Well, and he had a respect and love for Saul, even though Saul was just like a craptastic king. He was terrible. And he treated David so badly. But yeah, David was just, I mean, he gave this guy way more love and respect than he deserved. And gosh, you gotta just respect David for that.
Yep.
I can't say I would have done the same thing.
And then Jesse, I mean, his dad, like I said in the beginning, like, he's the shepherd for a reason. He's probably the outcast of the family. Mm-hmm. And then to be thrust as king and then be taken away from your family before you're actually on the throne.
Yeah.
To the guy you're replacing. That's got to be some kind of like, but his dad had enough integrity to be like, sure, just go on. Just go on. Like, do your thing because God's got you, I guess.
I mean, he was working it all out because it's just, these are such crazy coincidences, right? Like, that's why, like, it's never a coincidence, always God's plan. But to the outsider, it's like, this is a crazy series of events. And David is yet not king. So,
yes. And I think it's cool also that you got to look at God's provision in this situation, right? Mm-hmm. So in the entire country of Israel that Saul was king over.
Yeah.
He says, find me someone who is skilled in this.
Yeah.
Right? And somebody in his people are going, hey, I know this guy.
Yeah.
So how good? Like, all right, so I'll give away, like, Slash is one of the best guitarists to ever play rock music, right?
Yeah.
Like, David is the Slash of Israel. Like, everybody, like, who's your best guitarist? Let's go Slash, right?
Yeah.
No, like, think about it. God had so much pull in David's life that he made him so skillful with that instrument that everybody knew he was that good from that little bitty town.
Well, and I shared that verse, I believe it's in Proverbs, Eric, but when we were talking about occupations at one time, you know, the Bible also says, find me someone that is skilled in his work and he will play for kings.
Yes.
And so this is a fulfillment of what that looks like. If you're that good and you have that good of a reputation, like you will with your barbecue someday, Eric, you will cook for kings.
Let's hope. But yeah, I just get blown away at the provision of God.
Yeah.
And the obedience of David.
Yes.
I mean, Saul, he is what he is.
Yes.
He was the wrong guy for the job to start with. But it's just so cool that David is so obedient to be like, yep, I am not going to move on this until God puts it in my lap. And I know there's a lot of people out there praying for a lot of things.
Yes.
And we'll relate this back to that relationship you have with God. And it's not a religion. It's not the sacrifices. It's not the other stuff that Saul was going through, that ritual. But David had that heart for God, right?
Yeah.
And so he's walking and talking with God and praying and saying, hey, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And the entire time he follows it. He listens. He's got that ability to be in that relationship. And that's what was pulled from Saul, was the relationship. Because he always had to go through Samuel to get his word. David didn't have to go through Samuel to get his word from God. He always got the word straight from the source. So that's the difference, I believe, in the two hearts that we have here. Is Saul's was a heart after his own self.
Yeah.
And David's was a heart after God.
Yeah. Well, I just, when you were saying, like, God gave his provision, David provided his obedience. Like, that is a relationship. That is the relationship of the Father, the Heavenly Father, to his children. He's our provider, and all he asks is that we are obedient to, again, the things that are good for us already. He's not asking us to do something that is just ridiculous and unnecessary. And, it goes back to what Jesus said to his disciples, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. So, like, this is such a cool, like, tapestry of provision and obedience that we're just seeing here in this story that I got to tell you, it just came out of nowhere for me, Eric. It's hit me by surprise. So
yeah, I love this part of the story that he was obedient enough to just play.
Yeah.
It was no hesitation, I guess. He just went and did his thing.
Absolutely.
As we hit the time clock again.
Okay.
Listeners, God's given you some kind of skill, some kind of gift, some kind of calling on your life.
Yeah.
Wait for him to tell you where to use it.
Yeah.
And when to use it. But always be prepared to use it.
That's it. Yeah.
So, all right, we'll be back tomorrow with a epic day here.
Yay.
No longer tomorrow.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in today. I really love that y'all joined in and you got this far. So here's a few things that we've asked for you to do. Please go to whatever platform you're on, because we're on all the major platforms. And if you're listening to this, you know that. So like, subscribe, share, and invite others to listen. Also, we have a Facebook page, Born Again to Live, the podcast. So go there. Send us prayer requests, comments, whatever you want. It's all there. Private message. If you need answers to questions or any of that, we're there for you. So, thanks again.